Hi everyone and welcome to Module 12. In this module, we're going to talk about integration and specifically building our regulation toolkit. And in the last module, we did a couple of different practices. We've been exploring different practices throughout the entire course, and we have kind of given you different pathways that you can use to regulate your nervous system. We talked about things like breath work, we talked about sound and counting, self-touch, co-regulation, grounding, movement, visualization, all different kinds of things. And each one of these practices are powerful tools on their own, but real growth is going to come when we are able to integrate them into a toolkit that fits our unique nervous system and our leadership context. Regulation here is not about memorizing any of these techniques, but rather it's about knowing yourself well enough to know what practices are going to work for you and in which context and in which environment are they going to work. So in essence, choosing the right tool at the right time. Now, in this module, we're going to bring everything together. We're going to review some of the main practices. We're going to explore how to build our toolkit, and we are going to practice creating a short regulation sequence and then reflect on how you as a leader can embed regulation into your daily life and your organizational culture. Now, as we start this lesson, you will need a pen and paper. If it's digital, that's fine, but you will need some way to take notes. And we're going to go ahead and start by talking about why integration matters and why it's so important. And like everything that we do in the world, regulation requires practice. And so we have to make sure that we are continuously practicing these things if we want to embody them and get to a point where we can reflexively act on our regulation techniques in the moments that we need them. And so integration in this aspect is about recognizing all of the different practices as ingredients and taking those ingredients to actually make a meal. And so choosing a regulation practice that is going to help us get to our desired outcome. And if we don't have some way to integrate all of the tools that we have, then they just remain abstract concepts. But if we can find ways to integrate them into our lives and into our routines, then they can actually become embodied habitual patterns that we can instinctively act on when we need. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the concepts that we've explored. So we started with breath work. We did box breathing, ujjayi breath, bee breath, and sighing. And these are tools to help you balance and focus your nervous system. We also talked about sound and vibration, specifically humming and chanting, and the tone of your voice and how you can use your voice to activate safety and presence for others. We talked about counting and cognitive anchors, so specifically numbers, phrases, and sensory scans that help to give structure to your mind and to your mental processes. We talked about self-touch, so hands on your chest. We talked about hugging, eye cupping, gentle massage, and other gestures that help to signal safety for your body. We talked about movement, specifically walking, yoga, dancing, shaking, and how this releases stored energy from our body. We talked about grounding, so creating that connection to earth and doing body scans, tension and release, all to kind of anchor ourselves in the present moment. We talked about visualization and creating a safe space imagery, creating a future self visualization, having some sort of symbolic representation, and how that helps you to kind of rehearse that safety and that confidence that you'll need for your activities. We talked about co-regulating, so regulating with others. And we did things like presence, shared breathing, empathetic listening, and how that helps to regulate through connection with others. And finally, we talked about cognitive reframing, so shifting our perspective so that we can reduce threat and increase our conscious choice. Now, from here, we have a wide spectrum of approaches that you can choose from, and different ways that you can walk through them. So body, breath, voice, mind, relationships. And what we need you to do from here is we need you to know which ones of these work in which context and which ones don't work in which context. And so if you haven't actually practiced these, then you're not at a place where you can move forward, because everything that we do from here on out is about helping you to create routines that you can integrate into your lives that are going to help you to get to the outcomes that you want to get to. And if you don't know which regulation techniques, then you don't know, you won't be able to create that final end state, right? Whatever that meal is, if you don't have the right ingredients, you're not going to have the meal that you want. And so you have to have the right ingredients. And yeah, so as leaders, integration, we talked about this is about reliability. If teams are stressed and you're only going to increase that team stress. But if you can come in with a calm and focused presence, then you're going to help to co-regulate them and bring their nervous systems back down. And teams need leaders who know how to return to balance when stress comes up. Because if they don't, they're going to impact everyone around them. And so having a personalized regulation toolkit is what is going to allow you to meet the challenges that you're going to be faced with calm, with steadiness, and with clarity. And as part of that, you are going to be modeling resilience for your teams. Integration in this aspect also extends to your organizational context. And again, if you can normalize regulation and regulation practices through different things like breaks, pauses, grounding rituals, supportive language, whatever you choose, that is going to help build the environment and the cultural context where everyone feels like they have the capacity to create and collaborate and trust. And so with that, let's talk about building your toolkit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through a process that is going to help you create your personalized toolkit. And so go ahead and get your pen and paper or your writing utensils, whatever you're going to use. And the first step is to identify your go-to practices. So from the past modules that we've done, what are the practices that felt the most natural, the most effective, for you in your situation? So specifically, which ones worked, which ones didn't. And I want you to annotate which ones worked and in which circumstances they worked. So write down 2 to 3 different practices that you enjoyed that worked for you. Again, they can be any of the practices that we chose: breath, chanting, humming, whatever it is. Write down 2 to 3 practices. And I want you to now name your supportive practices. And so which practices felt supportive but might actually require a little bit more time or more privacy? And I want you to write down at least 2 practices. And this is for that they help, but you can't actually do it in the moment, maybe because you're sitting across with someone or you're in front of a large group, whatever it is. They require just a little bit more time, but they are supportive and they are helpful. So think about some of the visualization techniques that you could do the night before. Think about a movement that you can do before or after certain things, and those kinds of things. And now I want you to notice the gaps. Where do you still struggle to regulate your nervous system? And do you need to have more techniques where you can, in the moment, shift? Or do you need to have more personal, ritualized practices that you do on your own that help prepare you for those moments? Or do you need both? What is your gap? And I want you to choose 2 practices that you'd like to explore more of. Maybe at least one that is a in the moment regulation, and one that is a more private ritual practice. And now I want to create a sequence here. I want you to design a short sequence that you can use in a stressful moment. And as an example, it might look like 4 steps. The first thing you're going to do when you encounter a stressful moment is you're going to slowly inhale and exhale. The next thing you might do is place your hand on your chest. Notice the rise and fall. And the third thing you might do is name things you can see, smell, hear, taste. And if you're in a private space, maybe you hug yourself, or you hum, or you practice a more in-depth breathing technique. I want you for this one to have something that is going to be under 2 minutes that you can go to, that you know will help you to reset your nervous system in a moment of activation. And I want you to think about this one for as long as you need, but think about all of those regulation techniques that you know that work for you. Think about which ones will fit into a 2-minute period and how you can integrate them into stressful moments that you encounter. And the last thing that I want you to do is I want you to develop a daily ritual. So I want you to choose at least one practice that you can integrate into your daily life, even when you're not stressed. And so is it a 5-minute walk after lunch? Is it humming before you go to bed? Whatever it is that you choose, I want you to choose something that you can practice regularly that is going to help strengthen your nervous system's resilience. And again, breath, sound, co-regulation, movement, whatever you want that is going to be helpful for you. Even if it's silly like dancing. Dedicating 5 minutes at some point throughout your day to dance every single day. Doesn't matter what it is. It just needs to be meaningful for you, and it needs to work for you. Now with that, we're going to walk through a little mini sequence, and we're going to combine a couple of different tools so you can see this one that I put together for you. So I want you to find a nice comfortable seat. I want you to inhale for a count of 4 and exhale for a count of 6, and we're going to repeat this twice. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I want you to practice a self-touch. Maybe a hand on your chest and a hand on your belly. Maybe it's a self-hug. And I want you to notice either the rise and fall of your chest or the feel of your hands on your arms, how your body is reacting to that touch. And now let's incorporate some sound. So on your next exhale, I want you to hum gently for 2 different rounds. So inhale and hum on the exhale. Inhale for one more round. Now I want you to do a grounding practice. So I want you to just look around you and silently name 3 things you can see, 2 things you can hear, and 1 thing you can feel. 3 things you can see, 2 things you can hear, and 1 thing you can feel. And finally, we'll practice a reframe. So I want you to silently say to yourself, I am here and I can respond with clarity. Or maybe I am grounded, I am calm, and I can respond with clarity. And now again, I want you to just check in. I want you to notice your state now compared to when you started the sequence, and explore how that feels for you and how that's sitting with you. And if this one didn't sit well with you, that's perfectly okay. Just go back to your practices, which ones align best for you, and create your own sequence. So again, we want you to consider, what are your go-to tools for quick regulation? Which practices do you want to develop further for deeper support? How can you design a short sequence that is going to fit into your leadership style and into your life? And how might you model integration for your team or create space for them to practice regulation as well? And as we close out not only this module, but actually the course, I want you to remember that regulation here, again, is not about perfection. It's not about positivity. It is about presence. And stress is always going to arise no matter what circumstances you are in. And what matters the most is whether or not you have the tools that you already know will work for you and that you trust to help you regulate when you need, and if you use them. And so your nervous system, again, is not a problem that needs to be fixed. It is something that we need you to listen to and that you need to listen to so that you can manage those unconscious reactions as they come up. And the practices that you've learned here, again, they're not quick fixes. They need to be practiced regularly, and they need to be integrated into your life, whether that is your personal life or your actual leadership routines. They have to be integrated so that you can develop the deeper presence that is required. Now, what I want you to do from here is I want you to carry your toolkit forward. I want you to experiment with it. I want you to refine it. And most of all, I want you to actually use it. So regulation only grows when you actually practice. And so I want you to use the tools, and I want you to practice the tools as much as you can. And we will have one really, really quick module that's going to close everything out. But as we navigate into that, I want to say thank you so much for journeying through this course. And I hope that these tools are going to help to serve you in your leadership and in your relationships. And I will see you to close everything out completely in the next lesson. It's going to be really, really quick closing out. And I'll see you there.